She was only 16. They dared her to help the starving Comanche. She did, and for that, they hanged her from the town tree. But no one expected what would happen next, because before sunset, 300 Comanche riders came thundering toward the town, led by the very warrior she once fed. They said it was a joke, a simple dare. Bring food to the Indians if you care so much about them. That's what they yelled at her during the town gathering, just loud enough for everyone to hear but soft enough to deny later. Samantha Whitmore was just 16, blonde, soft-spoken, and raised with every rule the frontier could teach a girl. Keep quiet. Stay clean. Don't get involved. But that day, something snapped. She had seen the Comanche camp starving just beyond the ridge, mothers digging through dirt, warriors weakened by winter. A sickness had swept through, and no one from the nearby town of Red Ridge cared. They called them savages, thieves, cursed creatures. But Samantha remembered something her late mother used to say: pain doesn't know color, and hunger doesn't care what language you speak. So, she filled a burlap sack with cornbread, dried beans, a few apples, and her father's leftover stew. She slipped out before sunrise. The prairie fog hadn't even lifted when she reached the old riverbed that led to Comanche land. No one stopped her. No one knew. Or so she thought. But the moment she returned home, the sheriff was waiting on her porch. "Girl, you just committed treason," he said with a sneer. "Helping our enemies in times like this? You might as well have handed them a rifle." She tried to explain that they were starving, that they were people. But no one in Red Ridge was listening. That night, the town voted. And the next morning, they marched her out to the old tree just past the chapel. A noose already dangled from the branch, used only for rustlers and raiders. Never for a child, but that didn't matter now. She betrayed her people, one preacher shouted. She defied the Lord's law, barked another. Let this be a warning. They tied her hands. The wind howled through the mesquite. Birds scattered, and before anyone could blink, the stool was kicked. Her body swung gently under the weight of silence. They left her there, as an example. But what Red Ridge didn't know was that someone had been watching. High up on the ridge, behind a curtain of brush, sat a lone Comanche scout. His name was Tohwani, Firewalker, and he had seen what no one else in the camp had dared to believe. A white girl bringing food, not with fear, not with anger, but with kindness. And now she hung like an animal. Tohwani rode for 2 days, straight without sleep, across hills, rivers, and deep into the Comanche stronghold where the great chief 10 Crowns had gathered what was left of the old clans, those not broken by war or stolen by the white man's laws. The young warrior entered, the tent gasping for breath, fury in his eyes. "They hanged the girl," he said in Comanche, "the one who fed our children." 10 Crowns stood. Silence fell. Then he raised his hand. "Gather the riders, all of them." By the time the sun rose over Red Ridge again, the townsfolk were already awake. A hush had settled. Something felt wrong. Then came the sound, low at first, like thunder in the distance. But it wasn't thunder. It was hoofbeats, dozens, hundreds. From the north came the Comanche, 300 riders, faces painted, spears gleaming in the light. At their front was Tohwani. Behind him, the war banners of 10 tribes flew high in the wind. Panic rippled through the town. The sheriff grabbed his rifle. The preacher hid inside the chapel. Mothers pulled children indoors, but the warriors did not attack. Instead, Tohwani rode straight to the tree. The girl's body still hung, lifeless. He dismounted. Gently, he cut her down. Then, lifting her in his arms, he turned to the town and shouted, not in anger, but in a voice thick with grief. "You hung the only white soul brave enough to show mercy. We will not burn your homes. We will not spill your blood. But know this, from this day forward, we see you, and we remember." He turned, mounted his horse, and the entire army of riders thundered away, leaving nothing but dust, silence, and shame. That afternoon, the people of Red Ridge gathered again at the chapel. Only this time, there were no jeers. No votes, just silence. The preacher knelt before the altar and wept. The sheriff resigned, and an old woman placed a cross at the tree. But it was too late. Samantha Whitmore became a ghost, a memory that would haunt the town for generations. Years passed. Red Ridge shrank. The mines dried up, families moved away. But on the hill above the town, someone began leaving fresh flowers each spring beneath that tree. Every year, without fail. No one knew who. No one saw it happen. Until one year, a traveler stopped through. An old Comanche, his face marked with age, his braids streaked with gray. He sat beneath the tree for hours, eyes closed, whispering something into the wind. When asked who he was, he simply said, "I am the one who saw her, and I will not forget." And then he was gone. Today, Red Ridge is a ghost town, but the tree still stands. Some say if you visit in the early morning, just as the sun begins to rise and the prairie birds begin to sing, you'll hear the creak of a rope and the soft sound of footsteps. Others say you'll see a young girl standing barefoot beneath the tree, holding a sack of food, eyes wide with quiet strength. And if you're lucky, you might even hear the distant thunder of horses, because kindness, real kindness, echoes louder than hate ever could. And Samantha Whitmore's story, once buried in shame, now rides forever in the wind.